The DJI Osmo Pocket is the smallest 4K stabilized vlogging camera currently on the market. It's an action camera with a built-in gimbal, and it fits in your pocket. Wow, that sounds like an awesome combination, but is it actually any good? Let's find out. What's up everyone, I'm the Everyday Dad, and if I can figure it out, you can figure it out. So I'm a sucker for cameras. I don't actually think that's anything close to a controversial statement if you've seen my channel for even 30 seconds, in any length of time. But I'm also a sucker for gimbals and action cameras. So the Osmo Pocket could be like the perfect trifecta blend of everything that I want in my life from a camera. Now, full disclosure, I am a big fan of most of the things that DJI puts out. I generally buy all of their drones. I buy almost all of their gimbals. If they release it, I'll probably buy it. So just mentally prepare yourself that this video will be from a fan's perspective. But I am still going to try to be as objective as possible, and I bought this myself. Nobody provided this to me. But before we get too far into the video, let's cover the basic specs of the Osmo Pocket to get us all on the same page. And I can do that. It's so small I can do that while it's in my hand. And a quick disclaimer, I find that these are not needed as much on action camera type videos, but I'm nothing if not a creature of habit. I'm not a photographer, nor am I a professional videographer. I make home videos and these YouTube videos, so those are the specs I'll be covering today because frankly, those of you that I'm trying to reach also care more about video. And as camera conspiracies would say, let the video into your heart. We'll be using the Pocket without plugging it into a phone for the video. The whole point of this camera for me is for it to be as small as possible. The Osmo Pocket is the third or fourth, depending on your definition, device in the Osmo family of integrated camera gimbals from the masters of the dronerverse, DJI. It comes with a 1/2 inch CMOS sensor with a 12 megapixel equivalent camera. The camera itself comes with an 80-degree field of view, which should be roughly the equivalent to 26 millimeters on a 35 millimeter full frame sensor. The aperture this camera is rocking comes in at a respectable f2. It can record 4K and up to 60 frames per second, and 1080p and up to 120 frames per second with a max video bitrate of 100 megabits per second. Even though I don't normally touch on battery life, I do want to mention it here because there is no removable battery. It comes equipped with an 875 milliamp built-in battery with a reported 140 minutes of recording, but I bet that is way less when it's recording in 4K. Physically, this camera will shock you for how small it is. I mean, really, these videos and other pictures you've seen of it does not do it justice. It is seriously impressive how small they made this camera look. The camera's behind my hand. It's crazy small. But that also doesn't mean that it feels cheap. On the contrary, this hybrid feels like they put some decent quality parts in it. The body is made of a very quality feeling plastic rubber combination. The gimbal is made of metal, and it weighs darn near nothing. One of the really neat physical features of the Pocket, and something that action cameras generally don't have, is it's got a front-facing touchscreen, which will let you see yourself while using the camera to vlog. Which, darn it, is just about the most useful thing you can put on a camera, and it speaks a lot for DJI that they were able to fit that all into a small intuitive package like this. But that's enough talking at the camera. It's time. Oh yes, it's time. We haven't done this in a while, but it's time to break out the most important categories that an action camera can be judged by, and here on the Everyday Dad we call those the pillars of action! 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 Quick note, I'm obviously treating the Osmo like an action camera due to the size of the sensor involved, plus the applications I would use it in would be action and vlogging. On Friday, when we compare it to a traditional vlogging camera, we'll judge it in a more traditional sense. Oh, it felt good to say that. First up, ease of use. Again, something that we don't normally do. We normally do this for my fiddliness part of regular camera videos, but action cameras, I consider it ease of use. And I do want to say, the Osmo Pocket is incredibly easy to use. Like we saw during the vlogging test, the thing boots up in 5 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's ready to go. Like, that is shockingly fast when you're talking about action cameras or even other vlogging cameras. Like, to get my Canon M50 up takes a little bit longer than that. We'll probably check that out in the Canon M50 versus the DJI Osmo Pocket video we'll do. That'll be Friday. But this thing's incredibly easy to use. You just turn it on, you start recording, it does the face track automatically, it does all the vlogging features automatically. The things that I don't like about ease of use on this thing is it makes it harder to use. So like right here, if you want to use it as a vlogging camera, I think it's a little tight. Like like we saw earlier, the field of view is what, 26, 28 millimeters? And that's pretty tight for a vlogging camera. So I have this extended all of the way right now. Like, look, that's all the way, and it's still a little tight. Now, we did find a way to work around this, you know, a little bit ago, and that works fine, but it would just be so much more easy to use if we put the charging port on the side and we put a tripod mount on the bottom. And we will talk about this more in the mounting options, but so for ease of use, incredibly easy camera to use. I think anybody could figure out how to use this thing. It's got a little touchscreen for exposure, for moving the camera around up and down, for changing some of the basic settings. And if you do want to get a little more in depth with the camera, you want to unlock some of those more pro features, you can easily plug it into your phone and it will do that then. It's a pretty darn easy to use camera. Okay, back to you, Indoor Ted. When it's in selfie mode, the camera automatically turns on face tracking, so the camera will by itself track your face. It does this in both a vlogging mode, and if you set it down somewhere, it will act as an automated camera, which is probably the best feature of the Pocket. For me personally, what I want to use this camera for is, I want it to be like a second shooter for me, because I'm a one-man crew here without anyone to hold a camera for me. If I can get this to be an automated camera, man, that would help out so much for getting second angles and more interesting perspectives for making my YouTube videos. If you want to dig into some more pro features like record and log, use any of the more intense time-lapse features, or move the gimbal in more than a vertical orientation, you can plug your phone in and it unlocks even more abilities. I do very much wish you didn't need the phone for this, but the adapter that they include is a pretty elegant solution to bring even more processing power to bear. Bottom line, for ease of use, the Osmo Pocket is pretty darn easy to use. Next up, durability. This one is kind of a gray area here. I'm judging this today based off of action camera criteria, but it's not really marketed as an action camera. So this isn't really fair, but whatever, it's my video, I can do whatever I want. Dad? I'm gonna say this thing isn't ranking very high on the durability charts. The more moving pieces a tool or piece of machinery have, the more points of failure it has. So take a GoPro for example. There are no moving parts, so it's really just the screen and the lens cover that are the points of failure. The Pocket has the gimbal, the screen, the open microphones, the camera, this accessory port. It just has more pieces to break than a regular camera. I'd say for a gimbal, it's pretty robust, but gimbals in generally just don't rank very highly on my durability scale. And all of those exposed ports that we just talked about mean it's not waterproof. Now, I didn't actually look to see if it was rated to be waterproof or resistant like online, but this charging port on the bottom, these microphones, and the place where the gimbal actually attaches to the body, those tell me you should not put water or mud there. Again, not an action camera, so I won't beat it up too bad in durability, but you will need to have an understanding of these risks if you're gonna use a camera like this with so many moving parts, especially one that's so small. Thirdly, compatibility with GoPro style mounts and accessories. What? Now, I get it, you might be looking at me weird right now. This is the least GoPro-like camera that could attach itself to a GoPro mount, right? Well, not necessarily. Something that I'm not a big fan of is, and this is actually my second biggest problem with the Pocket, is there's no tripod mounting option included with the camera, period. There is an accessory that will eventually be in stock at some point that will allow you to add a GoPro style mount to the back of the camera. See, that's why I brought this up during the GoPro compatibility part. So eventually you will be able to use this with your GoPro selfie sticks, chest harnesses, and mounts, which works out pretty well, I guess, but I really wish they had included a tripod mount on the bottom. All the other Osmos have it except for this one, and frankly, that could be a deal breaker, because with that 26mm equivalent view we talked about earlier, that is pretty tight for a vlogging camera by itself. My requirement going forward, I decided this as I was making this video, is are you a company releasing a camera? You need to have the ability for that camera, whatever kind of camera it is, action, gimbal, regular camera, it needs to be able to be mounted on a tripod with whatever you buy standard. That's a deal breaker for me. Now, I've personally got this small rig like universal clamp that I can put the Pocket in. It gives me a 1/4 inch or 3/8 inch tripod mount on it. But at the end of the day, this fails in the mounting category, like we already said. And when it comes to cameras that need to be mountable straight out of the box, yeah, I think GoPro fails in that too, but at least it comes with like sticky mounts. Fourthly, decent, not perfect image quality. The image quality coming out of the Osmo Pocket is pretty darn good for such a tiny sensored camera. Now, It's not gonna do wonders in low light, nor is it gonna be something that can be used very efficiently indoors. Much like the GoPro or the Sony FDR X3000, they're fantastic cameras, but if you wanna film indoors, maybe not something that I would invest in. For 350 bucks, I think you could get a better indoor camera. Now, if there was an option to have this sucker with the Mavic 2 Pro 1-inch sensor, that would be a fantastic setup, and that might be something that you could use indoors, and that might be a perfect vlogging camera, like legitimately. When it comes to image quality, it's perfectly fine, but I don't know that this is necessarily winning in the image quality department for what the Osmo Pocket is marketed for, because they market this as a vlogging camera. But wait, we have a test for that, right? Let's go see how well it can work as a vlogging camera. Okay, now we don't normally do this part with action cameras, where we do like the video/vlogging test, but since the Osmo Pocket and we do the GoPro Hero 7 comparison later this week, they're kind of like advertised as vlogging cameras, so we're gonna do the video/vlogging test anyway, because I rule the roost here. Weird flex, but okay. Dad jokes, finally got to make that dad joke. Okay, so let's pop this thing out. Now, one of my biggest complaints, I'm sure we've already talked about, is it's kind of narrow. Like the viewing angle on the Osmo Pocket is kind of narrow. So we're gonna use our little universal grip that we got from Small Rig. Pop that in. So there we go. Now it's on a tripod. Just include a tripod mount. Like that's not that hard. It does boot up really fast though. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Face tracking initiated and recording. Vlogging test begin. Whoa. Okay, so it has been raining for like 3 days straight now, so we haven't had a lot of time to go make videos. So what we're doing now is we're kind of in the crucible right now. We're kind of in the reviewing the cheapest crucible right now, where if you watch reviewing the cheapest, you know the crucible's my backyard. But this is the video/vlogging test on the DJI Osmo Pocket. I do think the stabilization is really good. Hopefully the stabilization on the gimbal would be good, right? I mean, that's the whole point of the gimbal. And we'll talk more about this in ease of use later, but it is nice to be able to see what's going on as you're doing it. That's something that even like vlogging cameras have a hard time with. The face track works really well, so it's always like kind of like squared off on my face. And whoa, just stepped in a big hole. I do really like the face track, so it makes sure that no matter what I'm doing, no matter where the camera is, oh, it just lost me. There we go, and then it gets you back. The face track is a really nice feature, and so something that, one of the cool things about the Osmo Pocket is that it works as a vlogging camera, but what I'm really interested in is it as like a portable cameraman. So look, I set you down, face track is on, and we're backing away from the camera. So it can act as like a portable cameraman. Now this audio you're hearing is not the audio from the... Okay, it did lose me, so it's not a perfect system, but one of the reasons that I want to use this is so they can be like my personal cameraman, because I don't have a cameraman. Okay, so maybe it's not the best because it's all rainy out here, but that's the thing that I really want. So if it can succeed in that, I will be happy. Obviously, it's not totally bulletproof right now, and you got to do this weird hack to get it actually a usable focal length. Okay, back to the video. Oh, it's not doing it right because of the face track. I can't do the... Well, now what do we do? And we're back again. So I'm actually okay with the audio. I figured I'd end up not liking it after reading about everybody saying how bad it is. It was windy and rainy out there today, and while the audio isn't perfect, I think it is good enough if you're gonna handhold the camera or use it in something like the Joby tripod like this. And last, but certainly not least, especially when it's a camera combined with a gimbal, stabilization. We already saw some of the stabilization outside. I think the stabilization here is fantastic. It looks to be like a souped up version of the DJI Spark gimbal, and I think that stabilization was really good, and this has an extra axis on top of that. This is even more impressive to me because generally, lighter cameras are harder to stabilize. I know that sounds counterintuitive, but when a camera is too light, it shakes around more. Like I drink a lot of coffee, so there's a lot of shaking involved. But even with how light the Pocket is, it still remains pretty darn stable. So what, right? So should you go out and get a DJI Osmo Pocket? I don't actually know. This is some of the most conflicted I've been about a single camera this year. I really like the tracking it does automatically, as it can kind of act like a second cameraman for me. I like the image quality outdoors, the audio is perfectly fine, it's so small and easy to use, it really checks a lot of boxes that I look for. However, it has some serious, I typed that second serious in all caps in the script, flaws. Non-removable battery, no standard tripod mounting option, pretty darn expensive for such a niche piece of gear, and a pretty tight field of view for a vlogging camera. I don't know. It's great in some things and it's not great in others. As of today, I probably would not recommend this as a vlogging camera. However, if you were like me and record everything by yourself and you do a lot of stuff outside and you're looking for a fake other maybe cameraman, then I would recommend this. You can also use it while it's charging, which gives it a little more versatility when you're doing stuff like making YouTube videos. Thanks for watching.